making the headlines tonight. Decision to dissolve Parliament depends on outcome from UMNO Top 5 meeting. As speculation intensifies as to when the 15th general election GE15 will be called, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said that he has yet to decide when to dissolve the Parliament. The Premier said any decision on the dissolution of Parliament will depend on the outcome of discussions by UMNO's top leadership on 30th September.
30 bulan petang ada top 5 dan juga biro politik, malam ada MT. Jadi kita tunggulah. Saya pun tak tahu apa agenda MT dan sebagainya. Jadi malam tu kita akan bincang lah.
UMNO's top 5 refers to the President, Deputy President and 3 Vice Presidents. Asked if he has found the inspiration for when he wants to dissolve the Parliament, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri replied with a brief, "Not yet." Meanwhile, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob has arrived in Abu Dhabi for a 4-day working visit to the United Arab Emirates UAE beginning today. The plane carrying the Prime Minister and his delegation touched down at the Abu Dhabi International Airport at 8:25 a.m. local time. He was received by UAE Minister of Energy and Infrastructure Suhan Muhammad Al-Mazuri, UAE's Ambassador to Malaysia Khalid Ghanim Muhammad Al-Gaith and Malaysian Deputy Foreign Minister Datuk Kamaruddin Jaafar. Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri kicked off his stay in Abu Dhabi today by visiting the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, ADNOC, where the key focus is potential collaboration between ADNOC and Malaysia's Petronas in oil and gas, as well as renewable energy. In the evening, the Prime Minister was scheduled to have an audience with UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan at the Presidential Palace in Abu Dhabi. This will be the first meeting between the two leaders since Sheikh Mohammed's appointment as the new president of the UAE on 14th May. High on the agenda of discussions between the two leaders is to explore potential areas of cooperation to further strengthen the long-standing and multifaceted cooperation between Malaysia and the UAE. Among the new focus areas are digital economy, food security, digitalization in education, and renewable energy, as well as Malaysia's participation at the 5-year legacy program. Tomorrow, the Prime Minister is scheduled to witness the exchange of a memorandum of understanding between Renhill Utilities and Abu Dhabi Future Energy Company PJSC Masdar. Two newly appointed senators today took their oath of office before Dewan Negara President Tan Sri Dr. Rais Yatim. They are Social Security Organisation Soksor Board Chairman Professor Tan Sri Dr. Muhammad Hanifah Abdullah and Wanita UMNO Exco member Datin Ros Suryati Alang. The Office of the Dewan Negara President in a statement said Tan Sri Dr. Muhammad Hanifah and Datin Ros Suryati were appointed as senators by the Yang di-Pertuan Agong for a 3-year term from 20th September 2022 until 19 September 2025. Tan Sri Dr. Muhammad Hanifah, who graduated as a Doctor of Medicine from the University of Madras, India, has served as a medical officer at Klang and Sabak Bernam Hospital, and he's also the founder and executive chairman of the Foreign Workers Medical Examination Monitoring Agency, FOMEMA Sdn Bhd. Meanwhile, Datin Ros Suryati is a successful entrepreneur and had received the Entrepreneur Icon Award in 2017. The new Tanjung Karang Hospital, which is a minor specialist hospital with 150 beds, will be fully operational on 10th October. Health Minister Khairy Jamaluddin said the second minor specialist hospital in Selangor would benefit more than 350,000 residents as it replaces the old building, which is more than 56 years old.
Akan dapat banyak membantu dari segi perawatan yang boleh dibuat di Tanjung Karang dan tak perlu dirujuk ke hospital, contohnya hospital Sungai Buloh. saya jangkakan dalam 3,000 kes rujukan yang sebelum ini terpaksa kita rujuk ke Hospital Sungai Buloh dapat dirawat di Hospital Tanjung Karang, dan juga dengan satu unit mesin CT scan yang telah pun saya umumkan hari ini, 1,200 kes rujukan pesakit yang terpaksa dihantar ke hospital lain, contohnya di Hospital Sungai Buloh dan sebagainya, juga dapat diberikan perkhidmatan CT scan di sini.
The minister said this in his speech at the Tanjung Karang Hospital project handover ceremony today, which was also attended by Entrepreneur and Cooperatives Development Minister Tan Sri Noor Omar, who is also the Tanjung Karang Member of Parliament. Khairi said the hospital would also be equipped with 2 operating theatres, ICU ward with 4 beds, as well as 1 CT scan machine. He also announced the allocation of 2.081 million ringgit to upgrade 2 health facilities in Sabak Bernam, which recently caught fire. Raja Pemaisuri Agong Tunku Haja Azizah Aminah Maimunah Iskandaria today announced the establishment of the Royal Malaysian Society of Artisans. It would act as an association to recognise a handful of skilled artisans and continue their journey of hope in recognition of the past and the benefit of the future.
Today at the symposium, I would like to announce today, with His Majesty's blessing, I would like to announce today the establishment of the Royal Malaysian Society of Artisans. An association to recognise a handful of skilled artisans that are still alive today. We in Malaysia, the Malaysian government should help them.
Her Majesty said this at the 8th ASEAN Traditional Textiles Symposium 2022, which is being held from 25th to 30th September. It was officially opened by Yang di-Pertuan Agong Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah, who hoped that the biennial symposium would continue to be held in other countries in the future and bring together textile artists from ASEAN and other regions to share information on the uniqueness of their textiles. Still to come, over 400 million ringgit of losses recorded in online scam cases. Stay tuned. Bank Negara Malaysia (BNM) today announced 5 additional security measures to be taken by financial institutions in a bid to strengthen safeguards against financial scams, especially those online. Governor Tan Sri Noor Shamsiah Muhammad Yunos said the modus operandi used by criminals will continue to evolve.
Bank Negara Malaysia dan industri keuangan akan terus dengan teliti memastikan keseimbangan antara keselamatan dengan keselesaan pengalaman atau kemudahan pelanggan. Bank Negara Malaysia juga akan terus memantau dan mengambil tindakan yang sewajarnya ke atas institusi keuangan untuk memastikan institusi keuangan sentiasa menetapkan kawalan dan standard keselamatan mereka pada tahap tertinggi. Pertama, institusi keuangan perlu beralih daripada penghantaran kata laluan sekali.
Among the latest measures is requiring financial institutions to migrate from SMS one-time passwords (OTP) to more secure forms of authentication for online activities relating to account opening, fund transfers and payments, as well as changes to personal information and account settings. Financial institutions will also further tighten fraud detection rules and triggers for blocking suspected scam transactions. A cooling-off period will also be observed for the first-time enrolment of online banking services or secure devices, during which no online banking activity is allowed to be conducted. Moreover, customer will be restricted to one mobile or secure device for the authentication of online banking transactions, and financial institutions will be required to set up dedicated hotlines for customers to report financial scam incidents.
Menyediakan talian hotline khusus untuk aktiviti.
A total of 12,092 online fraud cases with losses amounting to 414.8 million ringgit were reported from January to July this year. Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Akrisani Abdullah Sani, there were 7 main forms of cyber fraud, namely online purchases, non-existent loans, online investments, Macau scams, African scams, business email compromise and SMS fraud. According to Tan Sri Akrisani, the ability of cyber criminals to exploit technological changes and creatively trap victims with a variety of new modus operandi, paired with the moderate level of public awareness on cybercrime, are among reasons for the rise in cases.
Bagi membendung kes-kes jenayah ini daripada terus berluasa, Polis Diraja Malaysia telah bekerjasama dengan institusi perbankan dalam memastikan siasatan, khususnya yang melibatkan penggunaan akaun keldai atau mule account dapat dilengkapkan dengan lebih cepat.
The police chief said that from 2019 to July 2022, a total of 33,147 suspects in cyber fraud cases had been arrested, with 22,196 cases charged in court. He also said that cyber fraud was on the rising trend in Malaysia, as in 2021, 20,701 cases were recorded with losses of 560.8 million ringgit, higher than 70,227 cases in 2020 with losses of 511.2 million ringgit. Chief of Defence Force General Tan Sri Effendi Buan today launched the National Military Strategy SKN 2.0 document, which is the latest continuous and practical strategy document to ensure that the Malaysian Armed Forces ATM are always on track. Therefore, he wants all ATM members to support the paradigm shift from the previous SKN to SKN 2.0 through the learn, unlearn and relearn processes, which would guarantee the success of the force in facing any threat more effectively and efficiently. Explaining further, he said the publication of SKN 2.0 is to support the country's defence aspirations by making the Defence White Paper and the National Defence Policy the main sources of reference. The document explains the strategic planning of the military that is formulated holistically and inclusively to achieve military objectives and enable these forces to gain a strategic advantage in whatever situation. General Tan Sri Effendi said the advantage will not only allow ATM to apply broad-range military options, but also become the basis for the national defence development towards becoming a future force to face increasingly complex and dynamic threats. He also urged ATM personnel to always be prepared to deal with the uncertainty of the increasingly complex and dynamic regional and global geostrategic and geopolitical security landscape, which allows the various new threats to emerge. Government business facilitation agencies need to continue to help micro, small and medium enterprises (MSMEs) to sustain their recovery post-COVID-19. Finance Minister Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul Tunku Abdul Aziz said agencies such as the Syarikat Jaminan Pembiayaan Perniagaan Berhad and Credit Guarantee Corporation Malaysia Berhad can help MSMEs adapt to the changing economic landscape. Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul said this is important as Malaysia is expected to face various challenges in the fourth quarter of this year and into 2023 due to factors such as the war in Ukraine, the impact of China's zero COVID-19 policy and the continued hiking of interest rates by the US Central Bank, as well as supply chain disruptions.
Jadi, sebagai pemudah cara sektor perniagaan, agensi seperti CGC dan SJBP harus bersiap sedia bagi terus membantu PMKS dalam mempertahankan pemulihan yang telah dicapai pasca pandemik. Walau apa cabaran sekalipun, seperti yang telah terbukti semasa zaman pandemik, insya-Allah kita akan capai keberhasilan positif melalui usaha sama kita membantu sektor perniagaan bertahan dan bangkit semula.
The Finance Minister also reiterated that Malaysia can achieve economic growth of 5.3 and 6.3% for this year, adding that third quarter growth would also be solid. On Budget 2023, Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul said the government will continue to focus on economic recovery apart from continuing with efforts to enhance people's welfare and build economic resilience to face future challenges, adding that it will also enhance the development of human capital for MSMEs.
Bajet 2023 juga akan memberi tumpuan dalam mewujudkan persekitaran perniagaan yang kondusif, mencapai ketahanan dan daya saing yang tinggi melalui penerapan teknologi yang inovatif serta menarik ataupun menaikkan taraf pembangunan modal insan dan tenaga kerja golongan PMKS di negara kita.
The Finance Minister added that areas such as building resilience, automation and digitalization are also important and will be given attention in Budget 2023. He noted that since the pandemic, the government has implemented economic packages worth 530 billion ringgit in addition to Budget 2021 and 2022. Lembaga Tabung Haji records almost 90 billion ringgit in deposit, the highest ever recorded in the 59 years of its establishment. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department Religious Affairs, Dato' Idris Ahmad said this reflects the confidence of some 8.6 depositors towards the Islamic Pilgrims Fund. For the record, TH also posted a total income of 1.47 billion ringgit for the first half of 2022.
Ialah mereka lihat juga tentang program-program CSR yang dibuat oleh tabung haji ini memberikan keyakinan mereka kepada untuk mereka menyimpan di dalam tabung haji.
The minister was met after handing over the 2022 Hajj Mobility Fund program in Kampung Tamau, Kota Belud, Sabah. A total of 5.4 million ringgit has been allocated for the program this year, which so far has funded the purchase of 40 vans used by mosques, tahfiz centres and charity homes nationwide. Malaysia is set to achieve more than 7 billion ringgit in cocoa export value this year. Deputy Plantation Industries and Commodities Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Wee Jack Seng said in 2021, the export value of cocoa and cocoa-based products contributed 6.87 billion ringgit to the gross domestic product GDP, which is an increase of 9.5% compared to 6.27 billion ringgit in 2020.
Dan tahun 2020 6.27 bilion. Peningkatan sebanyak 9.6%. Tetapi kita melihat tahun 2022 sehingga daripada Januari hingga 2 Julai ini nilai kita ekspor dah meningkat kepada RM 4.4 bilion.
In addition, he said the Malaysia cocoa trade hubs at Port of Pasir Gudang and Port of Tanjung Pelepas in Johor would make the import process and cocoa beans quality monitoring easier. He added that Malaysia is currently the second largest cocoa bean processing country in Asia and the sixth in the world, contributing as much as 6.8% of the world's total cocoa grinding capacity. Up next in foreign segment, lone gunman opens fire in school, killing at least 13 people. Stay with us. At least 13 people were killed, including 7 children, after a gunman opened fire in a school in the central Russian city of Izhevsk. The attack was the latest in a series of school shootings that have shaken Russia in recent years and came with the country on edge over efforts to mobilize tens of thousands of men to fight in Ukraine. Russia's investigative committee said in a statement that 7 children and 6 adults were killed, including 2 security guards and 2 teachers. The gunman, who was a former pupil of the school, killed himself at the scene. According to investigators, the attacker was wearing a black top with Nazi symbols and a balaclava and did not carry any form of identification documents. Russia's Interior Ministry also said there were about 20 people injured in the attack. The motive for the shooting is still unclear. Russia's Health Ministry said 14 ambulance teams were working at the scene to help the injured. The attack came just hours after a man had opened fire and severely wounded a recruitment officer at an enlistment center in Siberia. Russia's last major school shooting was in April, when an armed man opened fire in a kindergarten in the central Ulyanovsk region, leaving a teacher and 2 children dead. A senior former rebel commander in the Central African Republic goes on trial Monday before the International Criminal Court, facing charges of torturing alleged opposition supporters as the country spiraled into sectarian violence. Muhammad Said Abdul Ghani faces 7 counts of war crimes and crimes against humanity for his role in the brutal 2013 persecution of residents in the capital Bangui for allegedly of supporting ousted President Francois Bozize. One of the poorest countries in the world, the car spiraled into conflict in that year when Bozize was ejected by a rebel coalition called the Seleka. The coup triggered a sectarian bloodbath between the Seleka and anti-Balaka, which means anti-Machete forces. Said 52 prosecutors say was a senior Seleka commander in charge of a police compound where alleged Bozize supporters were beaten and tortured after they were arrested. Sometimes referred to as colonel, chief or director, said oversaw the day-to-day operations of the compound, which belonged to a police unit called the Central Office for the Repression of Banditry or CRB. Said instructed subordinates to mistreat detainees for allegedly supporting Bozize or the anti-Balaka, subjecting them to torture to extract confessions. According to ICCC prosecutors, prisoners were kept in cramped condition and even thrown in a small underground cell, only accessible through a hole in the floor of site's office. The strongest typhoon to hit the Philippines this year left at least 6 people dead after heavy rains and fierce winds battered the country's most populous island. Typhoon Noru toppled trees, knocked out power and flooded low-lying communities as it swept across Luzon on Sunday and Monday. According to Chief of Police in San Miguel, Lieutenant Colonel Romualdo Andres, 5 rescuers were killed after they were sent to help flooded residents in San Miguel municipality in Bulacan province near the capital, Manila. Andres said the rescuers were wading through floodwaters when a wall beside them collapsed, sending them into the fast current. Meanwhile, an elderly man died after he was hit by a landslide in Burdios municipality on the Polillo Islands, part of Quezon province, where the storm made landfall. Noru smashed into the archipelago nation on Sunday after an unprecedented explosive intensification in wind speeds. It made landfall about 100 kilometers northeast of the densely populated capital Manila before weakening to a typhoon as it crossed a mountain range, coconut plantations and rice fields. Nearly 75,000 people were evacuated from their homes before the storm hit, as the meteorological agency warned heavy rain could cause serious flooding in vulnerable areas, trigger landslides and destroy crops. So far, there have been no reports of widespread severe damage from the storm, which hit the country as a super typhoon. In sports, Nakashima claims first maiden title in San Diego Open. More that after this. Despite unable to end the 44-year wait for glory in the Thailand Kings Cup, Harimau Malaya's head coach Kim Pangon praised the efforts shown by the players during the tournament. Pangon also praised his boys' mental strength despite losing 3-0 to Tajikistan in penalty shootout. The champion of the 48th edition of the tournament had to be decided via a penalty shootout after the score was tied at 0-0 after regulation time. Tajikistan goalkeeper Rustam Yatimov emerged as the hero when he saved 2 shots by Harimau Malaya defender Dion Kus and midfielder Muhammad Nazmi Faiz Mansour. Malaysia's third effort by winger Muhammad Safari Rashid hit the crossbar before substitute Rustam Soirov slotted in the winning goal to allow Tajikistan to bring home the cup.
It was a very tough game.
The national team through the final following a 5-3 win over Thailand, also in a penalty shootout after both teams were tied at 1-1 after 90 minutes last Thursday. Malaysia had lifted the cup in 1972, followed by a hat-trick titles in 1976, 1977 and 1978. Earlier yesterday, the host Thailand finished third after they overcame Trinidad and Tobago 2-1. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob congratulated the Harimau Malaya squad, who emerged as runners-up in the Thailand Kings Cup final last night. In a post on his official Facebook account late last night, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri said he was confident that the Kimpanggon's squad had put on the best performance and that the Keluarga Malaysia would continue to be a strong supporter of the national football team. He further said Keluarga Malaysia is proud of Harimau Malaya's fighting spirit and advised the players to use the loss as a motivation to work harder for the upcoming matches. Now moving on to tennis, third time's the charm for Brandon Nakashima as the 21-year-old completed a dream week in his home city by winning his first ATP Tour title at the San Diego Open. Playing in his third ATP Tour final and his first of 2022, the San Diego native defeated third seed Marcos Giron 6-4, 6-4 in an All-American final. After the opening set passed without a single deuce game, 4 games went to deuce in the second set as the finalists were deadlocked in a baseline battle. The 2 longest games of the match went Giron's way as he broke for 2-2 and later held to stay within touching distance at 3-4. While there was little to separate both players in the rallies, Nakashima's stellar serving helped him to avoid a nervy finish as he won 12 of the last 13 points on his own delivery, including a love hole to close out the victory. It was a fitting finale at the ATP 250 event, with Giron also hailing from Southern California and living in San Diego in recent years. And that wraps up tonight's news at 10. Headline for today: decision to dissolve Parliament will depend on the upcoming UMNO Top 5 meeting. For more news, tune in to updates at noon tomorrow on TV2 and Berita RTM, or you can stream it online through RTM Click's website and mobile app. Till then, it's light out for now. I'm Shahida Arifin. Thank you for watching.